Everybody. Welcome everybody to today's webinar. I'm Jonny Dixon. I'm a head of partnerships for Dotdigital. Dotdigital is a leading global marketing automation provider. And today I'm joined by the esteemed Rob Hammett, who is Director of Solutions for Justuno. Justuno is a best-in-class conversion marketing platform. I'd like to now introduce Rob and let him say hello. And then after that, we'll get right into the detail of the customer acquisition strategies for 2020. To you, Rob.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, hi, Jonny. Hi, everyone. Excited to share some ideas with you all today.
Perfect. So let's dive straight in. So obviously, list growth is critical. So I'd like you to sort of give us an overview of list growth and how possible it is to 2x your list going into 2020.
Right. Yeah, thanks. So doubling your list, I think, is it's definitely a goal that everybody kind of shoots for, and it's never ending, right? Like once you double your list once, you want to do it again, and you want to see that exponential growth. And I want to start just in the hierarchy of why this is so important, why we're leading with doubling your email list, and really at the end of the day, it's about feeding a channel such as email that is the highest converting channel for the most people. So you will see the highest rate of return on email marketing than any other channel at this point, and a lot of new traffic efforts, paid efforts, organic, influencer marketing, everything is geared towards getting people onto your site and should hopefully be pointing towards getting them into an email marketing flow where you can drip on them. So when we talk about the goals for different traffic sources, I think the way you speak to them is differently, but the end goal is the same thing, which is, let's get them on the list. Let's give them a reason to check out today. But most importantly, the number one goal is let's get them on a list, or on a list for us to be able to communicate with them on a more personal level.
Yeah, perfect. And obviously, being with email at the core of Dotdigital's engagement cloud, we see that as vitally important. The value of an email address is something that we often discuss, and it's quite an easy thing to work out, because obviously if you basically divide your revenue generated by the number of email addresses that you've been sending to. So yeah, absolutely, I can see how that makes the forefront of all acquisition strategies. So then, okay, so going on, so let's talk about how you actually start optimizing, the conversions. How do we start optimizing, the conversion of getting that email address, but also, making an actually buying customer?
Right. Yeah. And I just want to echo that point about lifetime value of an email. If you don't know that number, I highly recommend just digging into your analytics and finding that number. Because once we get into these optimization strategies that I'm about to talk about, that are kind of on the screen right now, you want to have that number so you can tell if that number goes up or down, right? You might optimize the time and place at which you present maybe a lead capture pop-up, and those you may get a higher rate of impressions with a lower submission rate, for instance. But at the end of the day, did you get more emails? And is each of those emails worth more money, worth more ROI? So with that said, a few tips, a few quick ways for you to optimize your list growth and your kind of lead capture strategies is, again, focus on new visitors, right? If you're looking at return visitor rates, if you have a high return visitor rate, that's a really good problem to have. And maybe the goal should shift for those folks to how do we get them to become a customer, right? And so kind of leading that focus with new traffic, are you personalizing the message depending on the channel that they're coming from? Is someone who are you going to speak to someone or present or have your pop-ups, for example, behave to them the same way as someone who is coming in from an organic channel. I would argue that an organic visitor you should delay it a little bit more than someone who is coming in from a paid channel, especially social. We know that social traffic, whatever got them to click through to the site, maybe it was a 20% off Facebook ad, or an ugly sweater ad or something like that, as you can see with our French dynasty. Whatever that message is, if it's social, make sure you reinforce that immediately. And especially if you're going to do something like an email acquisition campaign, where your Facebook ad says, hey, we're giving away a $250 gift card for the holidays, then you want to make sure you present that message right away, which is a different behavioral targeting setup than someone who is maybe organic or direct. Those people you might give them something a little bit more general, or ask them a few more questions to personalize their email marketing experience with you more. So let's see here.
Perfect. And
Yeah.
I mean, just an overriding point, the stat still stands from the Direct Marketing Association that for every dollar spent on email marketing, the average return is around about $38. And obviously these types of strategies certainly fall into that. So if I could encourage people out there, obviously invest in these types of strategies, because like you said, email is still one of the highest, if not the highest, generating revenue channel for many merchants out there.
I think, if I can just piggyback off that point too, it's, there's a stat that we became familiar with a couple of years ago, and it was that for every $92 spent getting traffic to your site, the average marketer is only spending $1 to convert them into an email or a sale. So kind of in the broader point, in the broader scope, is you want to be investing as much or more into getting them on a list and keeping them on a list and keeping them interested in your email marketing campaigns, because that has such a higher rate of return, and it helps you kind of recover a lot of the costs that you spent to get someone to a site.
Yeah, absolutely. And then obviously, again, where platform like Dotdigital would come in, is that extended welcome series, the 1, 2, 3 step, the branching based on whether they've made their first purchase or not. We see massive conversion rates in a welcome program of, almost 10 to 15% conversion across each of those sort of series of emails. So yeah, super important. But let's move on to the the types of sort of conversion rate optimization strategies that you have, and how you can obviously use it to improve overall sales conversions.
Right. Yeah. And I think a lot of times, we're going to get this gets a little bit, ducktails a little bit into SEO. And I think a lot of people think of SEO, I know I do, a lot in terms of being more technical, a lot of details around, the X's and O's of title tags and meta descriptions and, backlinking and everything like that. They think of that, and that is certainly a tall mountain to climb. There are things that you can do utilizing conversion rate optimization to improve your page ranks. And what do we mean by that is, you can reduce bounce rate, which, increases time on site, and you can increase pages per session, all and ultimately increasing sales conversion rates, all by presenting the right message to the right person at the right time. Again, if I clicked through an ad that was I was looking at workout gear, or I was looking at shoes, right? If I'm looking at Nikes and I get a Nike ad for the shoe that I was looking at, when I get to the site, we would argue that you can present maybe a dynamic offer if you're able to offer a discount on that pair of shoes or something like that. If you are personalizing the message and you're doing it and you're kind of, what I would say, like respecting the UX, and kind of incorporating some CRO into your messaging for a personalized messaging for your visitors, then you check all of these boxes and ultimately increase your page ranks, especially if you're your best selling products and everything like that.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest, that you know, the right message, right person, right time is something we often preach as well. You know, it's all about those kind of triggers, right? You know, automated email campaigns, for example, triggers generally have a 7x better, you know, conversion rate. So I think you know what you're talking about there of using you know, almost behavioral or indicators to trigger different types of personalized, you know, offer or pop-up or whatever it might be is
Yep.
super important.
And the channel matters too, right? Like you're talking about email, and you may have a welcome series or a cart abandoner series being sent out to people, and or it's, you know, it's a seasonal, you know, obviously we're just coming out of Black Friday and Cyber Monday, but presenting, you know, someone who clicks through from an email and reinforcing the messaging that got them to click through, that is what is going to lead to higher conversions, especially from an already high value segment. It's what we call like low hanging fruit from the email channel, which we already know, we've already determined is a very high converter. So
Yeah,
moving on from that.
perfect. Yeah, so this is so I'd love to obviously hear you run through some of these tips that you have, you know, on sort of customer acquisition strategies.
Right.
So run us through some of your top tips, Rob.
Some of my top tips, yeah, kind of getting in the weeds here. Tip one, immediately engage your audience with, when it comes to, I want to be pointed here and make sure that I'm not saying the wrong thing, but when we talk about immediately engaging your audience, we're referring to doorbuster sales like Black Friday, Cyber Week. Like right now, you might have your Cyber Week deals extended, you know, kind of going all the way through the week. You may be doing certain, you know, upsells and cross sells throughout the rest of this holiday season, and you want to immediately let your customers know about that, or your audience know about that. When it comes to lead capture, this is where I would stray from this and say, you want to engage those people after they've gotten acclimated to your site. So you have to kind of play that role. If you're going to be doing lead capture here in December, make sure you separate those people, the new traffic, from the people that you're marketing maybe an extended Black Friday or Cyber Monday sale to. Say, you know, wait 15 or 20 seconds to show a lead capture offer, but if you're showing a site-wide discount or a site-wide doorbuster deal, show it immediately. We see typically when people utilize this strategy, a reduction in average 15% reduction in bounce rate. And so, and it increases time on the page, especially if you have someone that is already interested in a specific collection, a specific product, and they now have a discount in hand. Guess what? They're going to go possibly buy the second item that they did not anticipate buying. So, kind of some dual, those two tips here. Another tip, we're talking about personalization of your campaigns, right? And so again, whether or not you plan to capture leads from this, you know, pop-up or promotion once someone lands on the site, you want to identify your top 5 keywords. You can use a tool like SEMrush, and we challenge you to create 5 separate promotions and segment them to each keyword, right? And you can use like you can target those people based on like a UTM campaign. You could target them via like a Google CLID or a Facebook CLID. And you can see here, you can update your title tag and meta descriptions to say you're currently offering a discount, a 20 to 40% off yoga pant discount. So you can update those, and then when people click through, you have this tracking URL that we can then target, and we can show someone doing a tree pose with the yoga pants on with a 20 to 40% discount. So that's an example of one channel, and we would challenge you to find your top 5 and see how you can move the needle and how many more emails you start collecting as a result of personalizing that message. And so let's see. So tip number 2, this is more of a tip for increasing sales conversions and not necessarily directly related to maybe lead capture. In terms of smart product recommendations, there's a lot of themes out there on a lot of different cart platforms that are kind of like out of the box product recommendations, or you may find yourself, you may be someone who is manually updating those and placing the products into those recommendations that you want to show into that carousel. However, a lot of technology coming out, including Justuno, we offer a feature called Commerce AI where we are ingesting product and order feeds. We are presenting dynamic recommendations based on what this individual visitor is viewing, what they've added to the cart, and that is all based on what your goal is. So what products will update in here are completely based on what your whether you're upselling, cross-selling, showing just generally the most viewed or most purchased, or if you actually want to show something based on what this person previously had in their cart. Again, we're talking about showing the right product at the right time to the right customer. So if I have, if I have the black Adidas pants in my cart and I didn't add the matching black Adidas jacket, you're going to want to show that to me. And you may not want to manually update that, or you may find that you want to try to do this. Someone has the entire tracksuit and you want to sell them, the hat that matches, right? And so we are automatically updating that based on your conversion rates of those products and the adjacent products that are commonly bought. And we're presenting that info directly to the customer, and all you have to do is set it up and drop it into those elements in the page. So another note on this, I think the other important facet to talk about is the display of product recommendations and how this affects your sales conversions. It's sort of many times an afterthought. Maybe it's a lower priority than your reviews for a certain product or something like that, but you are not limited to showing product recommendations within a product page below the fold. You can show them, we have a lot of clients now showing product recommendations within the slide out cart once a product's added, on the cart page, on the checkout page, and one of my new favorites, which is showing it in a banner that is triggered after an add to cart action. So if someone adds one of your shirts to their cart, right now, a lot of times you have to rely on them to scroll down below the fold, to go to the cart page, or to go to the checkout page to see this upsell offer or cross-sell offer. Whereas you can trigger it to show in a banner that just shows up from the bottom. It slides in and says, hey, you might also like this, right? And then they have the option of clicking there or closing the banner. So there's more flexibility than you think is out there, and there's more dynamic options. And you should, whatever solution you're looking at, you should have different categories of algorithms to utilize, and you should be able to filter those things. So maybe you want to cross-sell, but you only want to cross-sell red shirts or red shoes or something like that, or Jordans or something. So you should have those options, and needless to say, you do have those options within Justuno.
Yeah, I love that. I love how Justuno have sort of utilizing the technology that they've been working on for many years, and now obviously being able to use a combination of product recommendations, which we all know work so well. Dotdigital just fairly recently launched their recommendations, and Recs can be 30% of revenue. There's stats out there that sort of 12% of all sales can be attributed to recommendations. So the fact that you're combining the technology, the sort of pop-up technology and these different banners and things, see how that can be super effective and sort of give merchants that boost that they might be looking for if they're already using a type of recommendation engine as well.
I love that stat that you just threw out too, like 12% of revenue comes from product recommendations. Is that a Dotdigital case study?
It's a general stat, an industry stat, but it's more like 30% of revenue can be attributed, and 12% of sales. So it's an interesting one.
Yeah, and you want to have that flexibility. You want to be able to A/B test. We've worked with clients that are working on, they're doing like a control test. So maybe they're not entirely sold on the idea of, utilizing like a AI driven product recommendation carousel. So they're testing it against nothing at all. So they'll have the carousel in their slide out cart, and then, maybe 20 to 50% of the audience is seeing nothing at all. So they have a smaller to half holdout audience. And so we're experimenting a lot with that. And the results are obviously in favor of product recommendations. But it's also interesting just to know, like, if I'm interested in finding out whether I can get even more, if that 12% can jump to 20% because I put it above the fold, like that's something worth noting. That's something worth taking back to your teams and saying, hey, what do you think? This looks like it really moved the needle.
Yeah, for sure.
So be helpful and communicate at this time of year. I think that is especially important. I'll give you a very good example why. So free shipping offers, you want to communicate this. It's well documented throughout our industry that shipping costs are the #1 reason why carts are abandoned. So tell people about what they need to do to get free shipping. If they're in a region where free shipping has no threshold whatsoever, let them know, or let them know dynamically you're $28 away from free shipping. So not only does that help communicate a threshold for people, that is also working to lift your average cart values. One of our most popular promotions to run through Just Uno is this, when people are asking us, hey, what can I do to lift my AOV? One of the most popular things we're seeing done is a dynamic free shipping threshold. And so it might change depending on whether you're in the US or outside of the US, but you can create separate ones. Again, we're looking at this personalized dynamic style of promotions and saying, show a $40 shipping threshold to people in the US, but show an $80 shipping threshold to people outside of the US. And I think that kind of lends itself to this idea of like, don't make me think, let me know exactly where I'm at, and you may be rewarded for it. And I think another example that can't be ignored of just communicating, not necessarily promoting, but communicating, is we're approaching a time where you are going to have a shipping deadline that you need to communicate to your visitors. And you're going to be sending it through email. You might be running ads through social or posting through social. But make sure that you have something on your site too. If nothing else, place a banner there that says, order by December 21st to receive to guarantee your order delivery by the 24th. Do things to help communicate to people when they need to purchase by. Some brands are doing that now, a lot aren't, but we'll get into some ways that you can kind of put some neat, kind of like press some urgency on it by using a timer, and getting it in front of the right visitor. Maybe you're only showing that to people that have items in their cart, for instance. But those are ways that you can improve the user experience and communicate with them, make sure all the info is out there so that you're not left, with people frantically trying to order on December 23rd and claiming that they didn't receive an email from you about the deadline, so they want express shipping for free, so you're not having those conversations.
Yeah, I love that idea of just being helpful as opposed to always looking for the sale. We talk about that even with, like you mentioned, abandoned cart emails. It should be, and it is super easy to actually change the content on what you know about the customer. If they're a repeat customer or they purchase 5 times, 10 times, change up that content. Otherwise, they're just going to be seeing the same thing every time. And likewise, if you can identify that someone has been looking at the shipping policy or the returns policy, if you can identify that before the emails trigger out, then you can also change the content and provide them more information of what they've been looking at. So yeah, I do love that idea of being helpful and not just selling all the time.
Yeah, and it's critical at this time of year. I'm always a big fan, even though we do encourage people to utilize pop-ups for the purpose of promotions, because that has its own reaps its own benefits. it is equally important to be helpful and communicative with your visitors, because they appreciate it. So here's some pro tips for how you can utilize your free shipping or your shipping thresholds and communicate that to people, whether or not you offer free shipping. Dynamic free shipping banner, we kind of covered that with a cross-selling promotion. Like you can order, add $25.32 more to get a free gift with purchase and free shipping. Then you start to you're really enticing people to complete that purchase. Or if you have a certain product that qualifies for free shipping, and maybe this is someone who is a organic visitor, they did not click through from an ad showing a specific product, so you're not entirely sure what they're interested in yet. Show them a product that qualifies them for free shipping and kind of guide them through that experience. So let's move into our Cyber Monday promotion, and specifically utilizing timers. So we were just talking about this. It creates urgency, or FOMO, the elusive FOMO. And I would say that timers have two purposes, right? They can press urgency. They can show, they can, as you can see, 22%, 22.67% sales conversion rate of visitors who engage with promotions that contain a timer. So it's a little bit layered, but we see a very high conversion rate for visitors who are engaging with promotions that contain timers. And so in most cases, you're looking at, I'll give you a good example that certainly relates to Dotdigital. When someone's clicking through from a welcome series, they have not yet become a customer, but they signed up for your newsletter, and you're offering them you gave them a 10% off coupon or 15% off, whatever it is, and you send them that welcome series email that says, hey, don't forget your coupon code for 20% off. And when they click through from that email, are you reinforcing that message? Are you pressing urgency? Are you presenting a banner that specifically targets that UTM welcome series campaign? And are you specifically targeting them and saying, hey, don't forget this 20% coupon code? Maybe it's a dynamic code, maybe it's a generic code, but either way, don't forget your 20% coupon code. Bam, hurry, deal ends in 20 minutes. And I've seen timers as short as 20 minutes and as high as 24 hours. And I would not go beyond that, to be honest with you. I would not recommend creating a timer that is more than 24 hours away, because there's really no urgency there. So that's a good example of a way that you can utilize timers, or if you're presenting a cart abandonment offer, anything like that. And then the other way to use them is for your Cyber Monday sales and your Black Friday deals and your free, your shipping deadlines and all those things, where again, this is a communication tool. This is letting people know how much longer they have to take advantage of a certain deal that you have. So timers, though, they're very sneaky powerful, especially in terms of how you're pressing urgency for a certain deal that is going on.
Yeah, first-hand experience to that with me as well. This Cyber Monday, because it's that it is that urgency. It's that, okay, I've only got another couple of hours to go. So yeah, it certainly worked on me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got that clock ticking. I mean, all day at work on Monday, I'm kind of looking at the clock, like, when's lunchtime? When can I go? I need to take care of some ordering, and I know that these deals are just running out. And so we all have that inherent, like, I hate to call it stress or excitement or something like that, because it's a fairly low stress amount, but it's in the back of your mind the whole time. And so the same thing applies when you're shopping online, and you are in the segment of people that is being presented a timer. You have this great deal, especially if it's a 20% off site wide. It's not restricted to sale items or anything like that. It's not restricted, and you're saying, okay, I only have this long. I'm gonna buy it either way, but I only have this much longer to use the coupon code. So yeah, it works. So in terms of engaging the exiting visitor, we're all fairly keenly aware, I think, at this point, where when someone's exiting the site, it's your last ditch effort to try to save them. You also have things in place, some cushion in place with, you know, cart abandonment campaigns if you were to get the email before, or if they were to fill out that field. So you have checkout abandonment, cart abandonment, you have browser abandonment, which I think is the most frustrating for people. And so we encourage people to be smart about how you target exiting visitors. I would not, for example, probably target anyone who is bouncing from my homepage. Those people probably did not have that much intent anyway. There's no use to offer them a coupon code or something like that. Maybe you want to show them an email acquisition offer just to net a few more emails from that segment, which is no doubt pretty large. I think a lot of people experience the bounce rate from the homepage pretty high. But where the intent to buy goes up, the exit offers become more and more effective, and they need to be more and more segmented. So an example would be someone who has browsed 3 pages on your site and then decides to leave. Why did they decide to leave? You have to ask yourself that. You have to dig into the analytics. Why is this person leaving from 3 pages? Is it always the same page that people are leaving from? Is it always a product page? Is it a collections page? You know, is there a certain characteristic of people that kind of always abandon from you know, collections pages, non-cart or checkout pages, I should say. And I would say, you know, kind of dig into those and create the messaging around that, create the incentive around that. And with that said, some pretty classic, some pretty, I would say, ubiquitous things that you should look at for this segment, and it is even more so true for people abandoning the cart or checkout, is do not try to capture their email. These people are leaving and they have very little, there's very little left in the tank as far as, you know, wanting to be on the site. So if you are seeing this higher intent visitor exiting the site, give them a coupon code, give them some sort of monetary value or a free gift with purchase, especially if they have items in their cart. So those people are arguably the most valuable people on the site. Those with something in their cart that are exiting. Offer them that free shipping, because when the further down the funnel they get, the more likely that if you give them the right offer that they're going to end up checking out, and you're going to get their email anyway. So don't make that part of the barrier for someone exiting. And I'd say that this is critical if someone is abandoning the cart or abandoning the checkout. If you have their email already, great. If you don't have, if they're like maybe a new visitor that got all the way to the cart or checkout and they're abandoning, I would not ask for their email, because they're so close to checking out that if you get the right offer in front of them, they're going to check out. Then you will have their email. So that's these are great tools to again, feeding back into page rank and CRO. You're decreasing bounce rate and decreasing exit rates and increasing sales conversions.
Perfect.
And, yeah. So I could also go into some customized exit offers that we've seen. I love this one specifically. You're personalizing these exit offers around, again, who is it that is exiting? What is likely to get them to convert? And in this particular case, you're seeing that we've targeted someone who has a best-selling item in their cart. And we know that because we know the product, we know the variant ID, we know it's a bestseller. So we're going to let them know, hey, this will sell out, right? And especially during December, again, you're creating that urgency because people want to get the right things for the holidays and for gifts for loved ones and everything like that. So you have 3 items in your cart that are best sellers. That's one element of the copy here. Second element, we're going to give them a discount for if they check out. And this is probably a deal for someone. I would target this to anybody who is actually abandoning with items in their cart, probably regardless of what page they're abandoning from. And then the third element, I'm going to auto apply this discount code. So as soon as I click that CTA, boom, the 15% off is applied. Hopefully this person's on the cart or checkout page, and it makes it really easy for them to just say, okay, that's all I need. I just needed to get over that free shipping, and that 15% off covered it for me. And you'll see you'll start to see, especially if these people are trying to exit and you're making it very easy to apply a certain offer, you're making it hard for them to say no. So again, 3 elements of this example that you're looking at here. This person has best sellers in their cart. It's also dynamic because it says you have 3 items, and that could change if I have 5 items or 2 items or 1. So there's 4 elements here. Personalized, it's a bestseller, pressing urgency, there's a discount, and it will auto apply. So you literally have to do nothing except, click this CTA.
Yeah, I love that idea, and I love that particular offer as well, as you say, as an example. Just creates that last ditch attempt to make that conversion, which is awesome. So just then, kind of moving on from some of these tips. We talk about mobile, and obviously there have been things brought in by Google, and they're starting to look at the mobile optimize, and explain a little bit around sort of the best practices of mobile, especially around pop-ups and things like that.
Sure. Mobile, we're in a mobile first world now, and that's true across e-commerce, and it's only going to get bigger and bigger. And so making UX the highest priority is, I think that's paramount for me, and you should be doing that for all the reasons, right? It's not just Google and SEO and PageRank. It's the customer experience. It's the fact that most people on their phones are probably, they may not be connected to Wi-Fi. They might be having crummy airport Wi-Fi service at the moment, or any number of things that could be happening that are different than the desktop experience. So making UX the highest priority, I think, is paramount. And so what does that look like in practice? I would say, it should take up less than 20% or 30% of your screen. Or if you want to show like a full screen, or sort of like a center screen email pop-up for mobile users, show it on the second page load. You're automatically going to get higher engagement rates because those people that make it to the second page have a little bit of higher intent, or delay it even further, 20 to 25 seconds. Scroll percentage is great, especially if you're like a content first site that has e-commerce sort of like in the back end. You can show people a pop-up after 30-40% scrolling down the page. And so this, again, this is going to be highly effective for your mobile UX and customer experience. It's going to be effective for making sure that Google's SEO crawlers aren't seeing that you're covering up a lot of the content on that SERP page, which, by the way, the SERP page is the most important, especially when it comes to Google's policies. Second page load after the SERP, their crawlers are not looking there as far as we know. And so they're really only looking at that page that you click through from Google search. So making sure that SERP is clean, and if you are going to show a pop-up on it, making sure that it covers up less than 20 or 30% of the page is all very critical to having success on mobile. And I would also say another couple of design tips for you. Don't use GIFs or heavy images in your pop-ups for mobile users. Again, you're talking about a lot of people that are going to be connected to a 4G network, probably the vast majority of them, or they're in transit, and so the service is not necessarily, you're not getting like lightning speed loading on those, and especially when you start incorporating GIFs or images, then you kind of risk those showing up, taking a little bit longer to load. A couple of last minute tips too. One thing that I talk to all of our customers, all of our partners about, is that your opt-out buttons for mobile need to be just as easy to hit as your opt-in buttons. So your email field, your submit CTA, your close button, and your opt-out buttons, those need to be very large, very easy, very accessible for all types of users. I cannot stress that enough. There's a lot of technology out there that says, create one pop-up, create an email capture for pop-up, and it'll show on for desktop, and it'll be responsive for mobile. But in my experience and all the tools that I've used, that just shrinks down your close buttons in your email field and your opt-in buttons, and it's really frustrating. I mean, Jonny, I'm sure we can all attest to a time where you were unable to close something that you wanted to close on mobile because the close button was too small and you just got frustrated, or you can't read the text, right? Like the text, we always say, our Kelsey, who runs our professional services and our account management, she recommends an 18-point font, or I think it's a minimum of a 16-point font on your mobile copy, just to make sure that on multiple devices, it's legible and all the actions are accessible.
Yeah, there is nothing worse, certainly on a mobile device, than getting one of those pop-ups that you can't close, or it covers the whole thing. Certainly experienced that, and certainly bounced, and probably never went back. So it just goes to stress the importance.
Yeah, and even on like a publishing site, like we all read, I'm sure we all read a lot of articles via Instagram now. Like if you're following Vice News or something like that, and you're reading an article via Instagram, like they're showing all these ads now, and these close buttons are tiny, and I get very, very frustrated with that, because especially with, I guess, publishers, because they show a lot more ads just in general, but the inability to close those easily is definitely a hurdle.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, so coming on to the final point, really. Obviously, these days we're talking about acquisition, we're talking about lead capture, and compliance. So we've got laws coming in, like GDPR and CCPA. So just give us an overview of kind of how you can circumvent the issues surrounding those.
Sure. So you can I'll present a general way to do it and then a specific way to do it, and you can get as granular as you want. And this applies, it's GDPR is in place. The CCPA for California is coming in January. You already have the castle laws in Canada. So it's really a matter of time before this is kind of spreading further and further, which is great. It is good that your data is protected. And I don't want to demonize these programs, because I really do believe in them as a consumer. Now, in terms of making sure that you are compliant with these laws, you can just start, if you want to, it all comes down to a consent checkbox. And so that needs to be in your email capture forms. So you can just be ahead of the curve and just place them in all of your email capture pop-ups now, or that would be the simple way to do it, right? And with just as well, with when you add a consent checkbox, you can actually check check a box within your checkbox layer that says you only want to show this in GDPR countries, and so that's kind of a simple shortcut that we've added in. And then the more specific way is if you want to create a pop-up that shows to people in Europe, Canada, and California right now, and that's the only pop-up that you want to have contain a consent checkbox, then use geo-targeting to say, if I am either in California or Canada or Europe, then show me this pop-up with a checkbox. Everybody else just gets a regular pop-up that does not have a consent checkbox. But I would get ahead of the curve. If it's me, I'm gonna add the checkbox to all of my pop-ups, because yeah, you may see a very marginal hit on the total number of emails, but I would argue that your deliverability goes up, you have a more engaged user, and ultimately it kind of augments your overall marketing flow in general. So I would say you're getting cleaner emails, would be the easy way to put it, and you're just getting more engaged people. You're reducing junk traffic.
Yeah, it's certainly a very interesting point. And Dotdigital, with a heavy European presence that we have, we were kind of one of the first platforms to really adopt the sort of data legislation, and we actually developed something called consent insight. So we now, as an email address comes into the database, record everything, timestamps on when they opted in, if they opted out, if they resubscribed. And we do that for every single contact. So, you know, it's not just about showing the pop-ups anymore. Sorry, the targeted kind of opt-in, but it's actually then, you know, making sure that if you've got an email platform, it's making sure that they can handle that kind of consent management as well, because that's just as important as getting the initial opt-in these days.
Absolutely.
Perfect. So yeah, I mean, with that, thanks, Rob. That was awesome. I think there's loads of really practical tips in there. I'm sure the audience will be taking a lot of notes and going away with a few things to do. But obviously, you know, if there are any questions for the audience, then you have both of our email addresses there. Please feel free to get in touch. I would absolutely encourage, you know, everyone to go and check out, just to, you know, get a demo or whatever, because it is a superb platform and can significantly help increase, you know, revenues, data acquisition, all of the above. So Rob, thank you very much. And
Thank
with
you.
that, I
Thank you, John,
suppose
for
we
having me.
will. Yeah, no, not absolutely. So with that, we'll wrap up. And thanks everyone for joining, and have a good rest of week.